someone that I cared about a great deal. He kept calling me a freak when we first met. And for a while, I kind of just sat and listened to it. But then after a while, because I wasn't quite sure where it was going, and I think that they thought that it was some kind of offhanded, ha ha ha, you're a freak statement, or a response to things that I was saying or who I am, I said, how are you using that word? Why are you calling me a freak? And they really didn't have an answer. And it was in that moment that I knew that it wasn't endearing. It was an accusation. And I said, don't call me that word. You haven't earned it yet. Because I own that word. I fought for that word. And I love that word. And it's not a word I use to make anybody feel bad about themselves. And it took me back to college when I had so many friends who I cared about and care for deeply to this day. And they would say things like to me about my sexuality, like, not everything's about sex, or not everything is symbolic, or you think about things too deeply, or, stop sleeping with that woman and that guy at the same time. Bisexuality isn't real. You're really gay. And bisexuality is just a roadside cafe on the way to Homo Town. And God knows at the time I was having a hard time with the fact that I was sleeping with both men and women. So I took their advice. And looking back now, I think, wow, that was something. And it was kind of taken away. What would it have been like if they had encouraged me to, or asked me if I was being open and honest with the people that I was caring about, and whether or not I'd considered if I was hurting anybody, and if I had asked. But that's not the conversations that happened. So I look back at those times, and I don't hold any grudges, because I think, these were good people who were trying to help someone out. They were trying to help me. And Lord knows I was confused. So they were trying to help me by telling me, accept yourself. You're gay. Now, all these years later, my husband jokingly ribs me for not being a Kinsey 6. But in the back of my head, I still think, what would it have been like? But I'm super happy with my life. And that's just a backward thought. And the life that I have right now is great, because I'm a freak. I'm my version of freak. I'm the 50-year-old that decides, I'm going to pick up embroidery, and I'm going to do some embroidering today. I'm not going to limit myself because embroidery is about some gender. I think about this therapist that I once had in supervision, who spent weeks telling me about a patient that he had who was a feet, and was in a polyamorous relationship with a man and a woman. And the patient kept telling me that he really felt that the thing that should happen was that that relationship should end, because the patient was a feet and clearly gay. And I listened and listened for a long time, until I finally said, I think this is about you. And I think this is about your envy. And I think there's a part of you, because you're a feet, that's a little jealous that he gets to have both. Or is trying to. And maybe I wished I could have both. And maybe you do too. How about we let him have both, and encourage him to be conscious and awake in what he's doing, and just stay experience near to him. Anyway, that connection didn't last long, and I worry about those patients to this day, because there's a normalizing tendency in my field. Sure, they won't call it normalizing, they'll call it adapted, or developmentally sound, or something like that. But really what we're talking about is listening to a patient and envisaging what we think is right for them based on the compromises we made in our lives. I don't think that's work. Anyway, long ago, I put on a frock with my best friend in our mid-20s, and we jumped on a stage to Lady Marmalade at CBGB's and flirted and sat in the laps of all the straight boys in the audience and had a riot. I've turned my nose up at a lot of convention in my life. I'm going to turn my nose up to a lot more convention in life because I'm a freak. I love that word, freak, in all of its sexual, social connotations. Be a freak. Be your freak. Don't hurt anybody. Have your feelings. Stay conscious. Care about each other. And be your freak.
Aw, freak.